And a good evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on a Monday night, the 8th day of June, 6826. Good to see everybody, and we're grateful to have everybody as we start another week of broadcasting and so forth. Let me get my cowboy hat on right. That would probably make a little bit more sense. Anyway, we're grateful that James Akers is with us on a Monday night. We got a lot to talk about with him, and I didn't think of anybody better than him to discuss all this stuff going on tonight. Buddy, it's good to see you. Hope you had a good weekend. And I tell you what, these weekends get a little exciting around America, don't they?
Oh, yeah, they do.
Big news is Iran went after Israel over the weekend, James. Israel retaliated tonight. There's breaking news that the Iranian government attacked our air bases in Iraq, of all places, and Trump is trying his best to rein Netanyahu in, but Netanyahu is basically telling the world, and I think he respects President Trump, but I feel it's a mistake, Trump trying to save a peace deal with people that don't want to make peace, and I am all with Bibi on this. I think Israel's got every right, and I don't think there are any fair players in the Middle East right now with this. And look, Israel's got to protect itself. It just does. And if Iran's going to play this kind of game of chicken, then I don't think Israel needs to be the one to blink. And that's just my opinion. I'm going to get yours on that. But I think that it's pretty clear that Iran's not serious about wanting peace, are they?
No, I don't think so. They're playing a game that they've been playing for a long time. And I agree with you. I think Israel has every right to pursue its own policy in the Middle East, and it's a matter of survival for them, not convenience. They're not going to do anything for the benefit of the U.S. government if it puts their own existence at stake. And so, of course, I'm watching, keeping one eye here on the NBA playoffs, and Trump is there tonight. There was a big to-do about all of that.
Yeah.
And so, but what's going on in the Middle East is just absolutely crazy.
Well, and I'll say this: do you think that? And I'm with you on that. Do you think Trump is sort of giving Bibi a wink though behind the scenes and saying, "Look, I've got to have a public stance like this, and I'm fully aware of what you're needing to do. I may say a bunch of stuff publicly because it ain't the first time that there's been winks behind the scenes besides what we see in the public. I mean, that's just politics. It's just leaders. It's just countries trying to posture for Iran." James, Trump cannot be this. I just don't take him as a naive president. That's what we love about him. He's very smart. He may not get everything right. No president does. But he has got to know that what he's dealing with Iran are not fair brokers of peace. And it's not just Israel they're attacking. Look, they attacked our air bases tonight in Iraq. There's no word of any injuries. But they've been firing missiles all weekend into Israel, and they've been firing missiles on their Gulf neighbors again. And at some point, you in a game of chicken, somebody's got to blink. And I just feel like we made a terrible mistake in letting up the gas on this when we had them on the ropes to destroy them here about 2 months ago. I do. And I think that it may come back to rue the day. But do you think there's a possibility, at least, that Trump is maybe saying behind the scenes to Bibi, you do what you need to do, I've got your back, but I've got to publicly tell you I'm trying to rein you in?
Well, I would hope so. I'm not. I quite honestly don't know, and I'm not sure anybody does. But I would hope that would be his strategy. I mean, Israel's been a reliable ally in the Middle East, and heaven knows we don't have too many others. And so it doesn't make sense unless you go to a really sort of a bizarre, Trump joining a long train of people that are going to throw Israel under the bus. I certainly don't think that's in his character. At least I hope not. So,
well,
but that may be a hope. That may be our hope, Chris, rather than the reality of the situation. You know what I'm saying?
I know, and that's what troubles me too. And again, I'm like you. I'm praying that he does the right thing. What do you see happening here? Do you think we go back to military action here in the U.S.? Do you think Trump keeps holding his peace and hopes for a deal? And I'm not trying to be negative here about him, but he was out there saying last week, and I remember the comment. He said, "We'll have a deal in place by the weekend." Well, the weekend's come and gone, and instead of us having a deal in place, we've had nothing but rocket attacks. And James, I want to make it clear to the public tonight: Israel didn't attack Iran. These attacks were first sent. These missiles were first sent by Iran. Israel didn't pick this fight. And it's like every time these things happen, Israel never picks the fight. But they are always told, they're the ones told not to retaliate when they're picked on. And it's not fair. It's just, I'm sorry, it would be like a teacher seeing two bullies in the playground, or two kids in the playground. This one bully is always picking a fight. And then you go to the kid that he's beaten the you-know-what out of and say, now you don't hit him back because we don't want to escalate the violence. Well, I tell you what, no, you take care of the freaking bully. You bust his butt and you bust him out of that playground. You don't keep telling the kid that's getting kicked in the teeth every time that you don't need to take your teeth. You can put your teeth back in, correct? That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy.
It is. I thought it was good. I agree with you. Look, Israel survived in a neighborhood of neighbors that want to see it wiped off the face of the earth. And the only reason they don't do it is because every time they do something to Israel, Israel punches back. And now we're in a situation where Iran, which has no cards to play with, thinks it has President Trump over the barrel.
Yes.
Because of domestic politics. And he is going to have to respond in some way.
I'll agree.
And or at least I hope that's his posture. This thing can't be one-sided where one side gets a pass for doing everything imaginable to pull the lion's tail and makes fun of the lion when it doesn't respond.
Totally agree. No, totally agree with that. Do you think what's your gut in this? Do you think again that we sort of continue to hold back, and we'll move on after this? But what's your feeling about the chances that we may be back at war? Because the gas prices went back up again today. And the markets are always sensitive to war, and they're down today. Gas prices are shooting back up after they went down over the weekend. So evidently, people sense that there's something about to happen in the Middle East.
Yeah, the markets always responds to uncertainty, and what they see in the situation now is the same uncertainty we're talking about. Nobody knows what's going to happen next.
Right.
And I'm not even sure the main actors know what's going to happen next.
I don't think we do. I don't think America does. I don't think Israel does. I think that this is what makes this so volatile. But I'm with you. We can't keep tying Israel's hands. And again, I wish Bibi the best. And I love my country. I love America. But in this situation, in this scenario, I have to say I disagree with our stance about Israel. And again, the people that Trump need to be screaming at, James, is Iran. It ain't Israel. I mean, that's what gets me. I mean, that's what got me, with this leaked phone call. The one that he needs to be dropping the F-bomb on is not Bibi, it's the mullahs. But it just doesn't seem that he's the one dropping the F-bombs on them. It's Bibi. And it don't look good, but I'll just leave it at that. I do want to ask you a general question, my beautiful wife, and I went to see a powerful movie over the weekend called Pressure. And it was about D-Day, and of course Saturday was June the 6th. It was the anniversary of the D-Day event that really, I believe, saved civilization. It changed the course of civilization. The only thing that I can liken the importance of D-Day to was really the first spread of the gospel after the church had been formed on the day of Pentecost, when Paul went on those missionary journeys and went into heathen lands that were worshiping all these false gods, and he brought the gospel light of Jesus to those lands, and the rest is history with the spread of Christianity. D-Day stopped a force that was about to take over the entire world by storming the shores of Normandy. Multiple tens of thousands of our boys lost their lives, as well as other allies did. But it had to be done to break the German stronghold in Europe. And you're a military vet, and I want to ask you a question, a blunt one tonight. You know, that generation, it struck me. The movie was really about the weather and how God used a little window of about 6 hours to give Eisenhower a go-ahead to do this, because it was a hurricane. It was hurricanes, 3 storms that were headed to France. And it was almost like the Lord himself stuck his hand up and paused those storms. And that window gave the meteorologist their okay to say, hey, you can attack. And he did. But I saw something more in that movie, and it really grieved me when I was watching it to a degree, because I think of the disrespect in our country tonight and the disrespect that we have for the military. And I would even just go further. I don't know if this generation, James, would have the fortitude to do and fight for our country like those boys did. And, you know, it's called the greatest generation for a reason. And I believe that, you know, if we were faced with a similar task tonight to fight the same root of fascism, I'm not sure we do it. And what scares me is that the very thing that those boys died for in 1944 on June the 6th, we're allowing in our backyard, and we're allowing it to take over our country again. We're giving the very rights away that these boys died for on June the 6th. And it saddened me watching that movie this weekend, but it made me respect so much the sacrifices that all of these veterans do. And as we celebrate America 250, I don't know if this generation would have what it takes to stand up to a similar threat, because it's not even standing up to it within its own borders.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I would hope that there would be something like before in your program I mentioned that people were so afraid of the young people in Great Britain, you know, prior to Hitler's invasion of Poland, and those same kids that were protesting against the government turned out to be the bravest of the RAF fighters that defended Britain in the Battle of Britain. In terms of that generation, there'll never be another one like it. That was my dad's generation. I had 3 uncles that went. They had several friends that lied about their age to go. It was there was a mission and a purpose and a belief in the goodness of this country and a willingness to put their lives on the line to fight the ultimate evil. And I'm with you. When I'm looking around the country today, I just don't see that same sort of resolve. I know that I volunteered and enlisted in the service during the Vietnam years, largely because of the example of my dad and others in my family. And I had friends that were star athletes that intentionally flunked the physical so they wouldn't have to serve the country.
Yeah.
And those same friends have difficulty looking me in the eye today. And I'm afraid that this generation is so passive, has been fed such an anti-government line in high school and college from teachers that refused to serve the country and got tenure. That's basically what happened in many, many cases. And so I fear for our country. When I was in when it no longer became a volunteer military and it became a professional one for all intents and purposes, they had to pay people to serve. You don't have the draft anymore. It's just a token. They'll send a letter to kids of a certain age, but nobody expects to be drafted. There would be just a chorus and a loud noise that would go up to the heavens if they tried to reinstitute the draft. And and if I was king for a day, which I'm not, everyone would serve this country in some capacity. And we have just lost that notion, number one, of the specialness of our country, and number two, of a willingness to sacrifice a convenience in life to serve your country.
It's very well said.
And that's what I see today. There is perhaps a generation that is sort of turning things around now, and therein lies the hope. But we'll see what happens. I mean, none of the recruiting centers can fill their quotas these days. You can't get young people to serve, and it's just sad. It's just a sad situation in my view.
It's very tragic. It is, and I'll agree with you. And I think the other thing is just the disrespect of the military in general, and it goes beyond the military. It's the disrespect for our law enforcement, the disrespect for our first responders. It's like these governors and these left-wing nuts that are in power. They do everything they can to fight our ICE agents. They do everything they can to stranglehold the border agents, and all in the names of this illegality. And James, when that kind of effort is being made from up top, it makes it very difficult for the rank and file to do their job. And look, I would be discouraged. The morale would be low on my end. I would say, well, what is going on that the people that I'm putting my faith in to sort of oversee me, they don't love my country no more than these pimple-faced kids do that, stay in their mom's basement till they're 30, don't get a job, and, they're out there carrying signs about things they don't even have a clue about. But it's not just those kids on the street that bother me. It's the government. It's government leaders, governors, mayors, and sadly many voices in Congress that are like this. What has happened to the left, man? This left in this country, is it not a terrorist party to you? We got a dear friend, Eric Caron, and, he tells me all the time that he believes that the Democrat Party needs to be outlawed. He said he believes that they need to be outlawed as a terrorist group, and I'm not going to disagree with that.
Well, I've said on your program on several occasions that one of the great tragedy of modern American politics, in my view, there are many that will disagree, is the absolute absence of a viable middle ground in the Democratic Party. It has gone so far left that it's abrogated any notion of common sense, and that's a true loss for the body politic in James Akers' view.
No, I'll agree. There is no middle ground, and again, what's sad about it, if there's a middle ground in the Republican Party, they have to go so far left to have any compromise with this party. It's impossible. And that's why the Republicans are looked upon with such disgust, because they're compromising with people that are not compromising. They're just basically holding out that we'll give in to their tyrannical fascist views, James, and it's going to be the destruction of America if we do. And that's why we're just tired of this Republican Party too, because we don't send them up there to negotiate with evil. We don't take them up there to negotiate with fascists. We go up there for them to stand firm in the face of this stuff and ensure that we don't fall to this stuff. And you're right, there is no middle in the Democrat Party anymore. I'm sorry, it's gone fully left. And because the moderate voices are being washed out. And look, this nutcase in Maine, this nutcase in Texas, we've already elected some nutcases in Virginia, New Jersey, and in New York. And look, I hadn't talked to you since this thing last Tuesday night in New Jersey, where you had this candidate that basically was testifying on behalf of the blind sheik who was behind the 1993 Cobalt Tower bombing, and probably likely planned with Osama bin Laden the 9/11 hijackings here in America. You got a candidate that is a breath away from being a sitting representative for the state of New Jersey. There's not much you can do to fight tyranny from the outside until you clean it out from within. Correct?
Yeah, that story is just a real head scratcher, you know. But the problem is, you can point out that about these nut jobs all you want to, but people are voting for them.
Thank you.
People are voting for them. You cannot escape accountability by saying there's a nut job out there if, number one, you didn't care enough to even get out and vote, and number two, if you voted for a nut job just because he belongs to carries a party label that your mom and dad voted for when it was a completely different party back in those years.
Without a doubt. I want to change subject on you a little bit. I know that you probably, like me, I'm not from California, but I've been watching this incredibly insane theft, election fraud go on against both Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton. Spencer Pratt, especially, the noodle woman, basically was conceding. Gave a concession speech Saturday night apologizing to her parents for not winning and not doing better. She didn't even win her own district, James. But we're to believe that 5 days later, that Spencer Pratt went from almost 10 percentage points. He was leading like 23.9 to 10% that she had as a vote. And in a matter of 4 hours, 25,000 votes were cast. 0 went to Pratt. But what was even more incredulous was that very few went to Karen Bass. It was all to prop up the third place candidate, because in California's election, the top 2 candidates get to go to the general. And they were scared that if Spencer Pratt goes on a head-to-head with Karen Bass, he's going to win. So they concoct this scheme, and you cannot tell me that all 25,000 votes went exactly to Noodle. And now tonight, the quote-unquote decision desk is projecting her to be number 2, because she's like maybe 30,000, 40,000 votes up on Pratt, all by mail-in ballots. Where have we gotten, and where's the National Guard on that? Where are the investigations on that? Where's President Trump on this? I'd be calling for a National Guard. I'd be having an emergency case before the Supreme Court tonight to halt that election. We did it in 2000 with these swinging chads, and I think it needs to be done tonight, and it needs to be done quickly, or Spencer Pratt's going to have an election stolen. And that's just Spencer Pratt. It's California, and it's the country, because this will be a blueprint, James, for elections to come. They do it every time. That's why we got a razor-thin margin in the House, because of this very thing they did back in 24.
where is the neutral press that is, whose only existence is to investigate such occurrences in our democracy? Where are they at? Where are the people up in arms about all of this? And I tell you, it looks, by all appearances, even my wife said, the longer this thing goes on, they're just going to steal that election. And
that's exactly what they've done. I mean, they got to July the.
By all appearances, that's what happened. But it will never come to court because the court won't hear it any more than they heard any of the cases of election fraud. You can't get past the procedural hurdles for a judge to hear it on the merits in his or her courtroom. And so it's going to be, like you say, it's going to be a pattern where a party dictates an election result several days after the election is held. It's crazy.
Well, this is the thing. Now, this Supreme Court case, and I know this is a legal question. You may not be able to answer this. We got the judge coming next Tuesday night, though. She will, Judge Sherilyn Allen. But I do want to ask you this. Do you think that this case before the Supreme Court that is basically going to say that if your vote is not is postmarked, but if it's not in by Election Day, your vote don't get counted. And this mail-in ballot's going to end. It's not election week, it's Election Day. We're going on 5 days since the election. Tomorrow night will be a full week since they voted. And they're still counting ballots. I understand that Peru had 29 million ballots to count. They counted it in 1 day, James. So when they're not cheating, they don't need a month. They get it counted right away. And I'm telling you, I think that if California does not think that the country's watching this, and if they think it's going to, and again, I'm infuriated right now. I really am. And I've talked to some people in California that, they feel helpless and they sort of feel what you said. I mean, there's no really recourse unless the federal government intervenes, and I don't know if they're going to do that or not. But I think what's going to bode for these Dems is they're going to rue the day they did this, even though it may cost Spencer Pratt a chance at the mayorship of L.A. And you Los Angelinos, for you morons, and I hate to say this tonight, that voted for Karen Bass to give her 34%. I question that figure. I question that she got 34% of the vote. I question that Ramon got even 10% of the vote because she can't even win her own district. But it goes to your point a while ago. Why do people keep electing these losers to destroy their city, to do the things they do, and then whine about it of how bad LA is? Well, guess what? You keep putting Democrats in power in California, in LA, guess what's going to happen? It's going to be bad. And somebody needs to file a lawsuit. I mean, you're going to have to fight this legally. You just do. And, I look, and one more quick thing, and I'll give it to you. If a bunch of ragtag Mississippians can take down Roe v. Wade with a Democrat president in place in the White House, can you not tell me that there's some Californians that can raise enough you-know-what at the courthouse to at least try to take this voting system down? Because the way I look at it, there's a Supreme Court tonight. I think if this case reached them, they would put a stop to this tonight. That's my opinion. And I'm not trying to scold the Californians. I know that we're dealing with fraud here tonight. But there was a lot of people that still voted for Karen Bass. And it's what Lori Mills told me. If we don't get out, if our side don't get out enough to make it too big to rig, this is going to keep happening. Not just in California, but all over the country.
Now, I think what's being set up is that people are going to lose confidence, any confidence whatsoever in the electoral process. you're just going to have this continuing division in the country that over time is eventually going to end up in violence, because people are losing confidence in the institutions that made this country great, and it doesn't take a person with a crystal ball to see that at the end of the road, all of this, if there's a total lack of confidence in things, you're going to have violence at the end of the day.
Well, I think that it's bubbling, and I think that the Hilton situation, I've not had an update, but they're predicting he's going to fall to third between Becerra and Stoyer, the crazy left wing loon bomb millionaire. That too was on election night. Steve Hilton was not just in third; he was in first place. He was beating the top Dem and beating him soundly. And again, this is something's got to give on this. Do you think that John Thune is watching this tonight and going to pass the Save America Act? Trump's out there tonight telling him you got to get rid of this parliamentarian. She's the one that's sort of standing in the way of these procedural votes. At least that's what Thune says. I don't know if I trust him or not on that. But I will just say this. You get rid of whoever needs to deal that's in the way of this. You fire them. You get rid of them. I think this is an 80-20 issue right now with Americans. Americans believe that we need voter ID, that the illegals are not to be voting. And I was understanding tonight that, do you realize that you could even show a gym membership at the polls in California tonight, and they would consider that a form of ID? Are you joking me?
It is crazy what's going on, and at least half of the country. I think, I could be wrong, but I think at least half of the country has completely lost confidence that they are voting in a fair system.
Right. Well, I'm going to say to the comment about us why voting, that is what they want us to do, is not vote. That's why we have to vote. That's why we fight for our vote. We don't quit voting. We don't take this defeatist attitude and say, well, why do we vote? We keep voting. We keep voting. That because when they're cheating, that's what they want the right to do, James. They want us to lay down and not vote. And I'm going to tell you something, that's going to happen over my dead body, because I'm still going to fight. And thank God we got a governor in Tennessee that don't put up with these shenanigans. But the way we deal with this is through the courts, and we've got to fight, and we stop electing corrupt governors and corrupt mayors and corrupt election officials. And we make sure that our voices are heard and something's done about cleaning the system out. Is that being naive, or is that pretty wise counsel and advice tonight?
Well, be it so. But I just tell you that the people that should be activists on this issue are the most passive.
Yes, they are.
And the people whose opinions we ought to discount completely because they're so far out of the mainstream and common sense are the people making the most noise and getting the most attention.
Totally agree. Let me move on, because I'm going to get myself in trouble if I keep talking about California. I'll just look. I love you, Californians. I do. And again, we're rooting. We're still rooting for you. And I'm praying something to be done legally to stop this mayhem, because it is right in front. And they're not hiding it. I mean, that's the thing about them. They don't even care to hide it tonight. They're just saying, this is in your face, America. This is in your face, LA. This is in your face, California. They don't care. And until they're stopped, they're not going to care. The other couple of stories I want to run by you tonight. You mentioned, I'll go ahead and talk about the NBA thing tonight. Did you see all these leftist crybabies and all these Democrats get all bent out of shape? Stephen Smith today, the ESPN jerk that thinks that his opinion matters to the country, He was just railing and railing and railing today on ESPN, the crap network that is as woke as night as day. And he was saying that the traffic in New York was going to be bad. And he said, I'd say the same thing about Obama, or I'd say the same thing about Clinton. Well, there's no record that he's ever said anything, because Obama's been to ball games, Clinton's been to ball games, Bush Jr.'s been to ball games. I never heard anybody get upset about a president going to a sporting event until tonight, President Trump attending Game 3, and I thought it was great. And we've got a video of him, very gracious. He saluted the crowd, and they were chanting USA, USA. It didn't sound like the people at Madison Square Garden were upset that he was there, just these left crybabies and these left woke nuts.
Well, it's just another example of I think there's plenty to quibble with President Trump about, but acting presidential and showing up to an NBA ball game in his own home city is when you're criticizing that, you're just looking for things to nitpick about.
Do you remember back in 2008, it was right before Bush Jr. left office, and it was in the summer. It was before the elections. Of course, Barack Obama took office in 2009. He went to a Washington Nationals game, and I never saw such disrespect, and I didn't like Bush Jr. I'm grateful he was in power in 9/11 more than Gore. But Bush Jr. was another one that did a lot of things, and at that time, none of us knew the depth of the betrayal the Bushes had. They were backroom deals with the Clintons, and they were just as bad as the Clintons, if not worse. But I remember that night vividly when the fans at Washington Nationals Park booed him. I mean, they literally booed, loud courses of boos. And I remember I was writing for a newspaper that year, and I remember writing a commentary, a editorial about that, and I said, I said, when people boo the president, we're booing ourselves, and we have to respect the office. Trump being at that game tonight was not doing anything wrong, and the people of New York respected the office tonight that was cheering. These people that are complaining do not respect the office. And James, that's the problem with our country tonight. We don't respect anything. We got Christians that don't respect authority. We got Christians that don't respect the office. We got Christians that think that, everything is personal with Trump. And like you said, nitpick this and nitpick that. And we need to realize that when we boo and we criticize him, we're criticizing ourselves. And when we boo him and we trash him, and we trash the office, we're trashing our country. But people don't seem to care about that. And it goes back to what we talked about a while ago about D-Day. When we don't respect our military and we don't respect the sacrifices of these people that have sacrificed their life, that me and you can have this conversation tonight without fear of being thrown in jail because we got a free country tonight. They don't realize they're booing themselves and they're disrespecting themselves. Are they not?
I agree. And we have an education system that doesn't have enough respect for World War II and what happened, that it even allows the students to study what happened.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy. What do you?
That's a huge soapbox, and I'm not sure I want to get on.
That's all right.
Too long.
Well, that's all right. I've only got room for one soapbox tonight, so I've already given mine. You'll have to go buy me a hot dog if you want to get my space acres. I'm sorry, you have to, but I enjoyed the ball game with you. Even the Braves beat the Reds' brains out.
I did too. I'm not sure I could afford to keep you in hot dogs and popcorn and peanuts.
You can't. No, you can't. When I go to a baseball game, I go to enjoy it, and I like my peanuts, and I like my popcorn, and I like my hot dogs. That's what I go to a baseball game for. And that's American. That's why I got the red, white, and blue on tonight, man. This is D-Day weekend, and
I believe you beat a unique path to the concession stand.
Yes. Well, that's what makes a baseball game fun to me. And anyway, hey, I got to ask you a question before I let you go tonight. Did you not love the beatdown that Trump gave the NBC Meet the Press lady, Welker, over the weekend? I bet she won't be inviting him back for another interview anytime soon, will she?
I didn't see it. I've just heard the media, and of course the media spin on it is that he walked out of the interview. But
yeah, he did. No, he did. Well, she was lying. She just kept lying and being rude. I got 4 faces. These are still shots from the interview. Looks like a demon. Looks like somebody's demon possessed. TDS possessed. TDS depressed. And you know something? If I'm the NBC, the Nothing But Crap Network, I would have fired her on the spot because she was very disrespectful to the president. She was very rude and very obnoxious. And let me tell you this, they treat the left treats the right-wing media the same way. And the way I look at it is, you know, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You treat our people with disrespect because when we just ask simple questions, we get cussed at and stuff thrown at us, you know, and she does this crap. I've got no sympathy for NBC tonight. I got no sympathy for anybody in the media. We have got one of the most corrupt medias in the history of this country. I do not believe, going back to D-Day, do you think if the media today would have been in place with Eisenhower in the 50s, we would have never had D-Day? The Germans would have known we were coming 6 months ahead. They would have known. Somebody would have leaked. They would have leaked the plan to the German people and saying, "Hey, y'all get ready. The Americans are coming." You know, because that's what D-Day was famous for. It was the surprise. The Germans didn't know the scope of what we were about to do. They had a gut that we were going to do something, but they didn't know what. And
there were several feints and several false operations.
Yes.
And false staging areas with false equipment. It was really a sophisticated operation. But you're absolutely right. If today's media was there, they would try to beat each other to giving out as many details on the timing of the operation and the location of the operation, and it would have absolutely nullified the effectiveness of it.
Well, they all need to be put in jail, the way I look at it. Some of this stuff that they do to betray our country. And again, these advertisers, if you're an advertiser and you're putting your money behind that, you're just as culpable. And, you know, it disgusts me. Every single one of these people disgusts me. Scott Pelley out there crying like a baby about his firing from 60 Minutes. It was long overdue. Leslie Stahl needs to be fired. All of them need to be fired. And, you know, it's funny that CBS, Leslie Stahl was begging to interview Bibi about this Iranian thing, and CBS said, I don't think you're going to do that because we know what you're going to say. So they got Major Garrett, a former Fox guy, to do it. And even the liberal side of the country knew that Leslie Stahl was going to accuse Bibi Netanyahu of genocide, and CBS has said, we're not going to allow that this time. And they wouldn't let her do it. And speaking of Jerusalem, James, another earmark yesterday, Sunday, was the reunification of Jerusalem during the Six-Day War, June 7th of 1967. And that was a big day in history because Israel had not controlled Jerusalem since the time they were dispersed. And it's a very prophetic weekend when you think about it, that we had our D-Day on June the 6th. Israel had their liberation day for Jerusalem on June the 7th. Only God could orchestrate such a date and such a time frame for two big events in two countries' histories that are so united together. And look, I think, you know, we need to honor that and we need to celebrate that because we're arm in arm right now against the enemies of freedom and the enemies of what we're fighting for. And look, I think we should honor that. I know not many people do, but that's all right because this ain't the U-Files, this is the Mac-Files, and we're going to honor it. So I'm just saying. I had to throw that little bomb in tonight, But,
good on you. Good on you. That's a good one to throw in there.
That's a good one to throw in. Hey, final thoughts tonight. Anything else? Trump's being at the NBA game tonight, do you think that we get the SAVE Act passed? I'll let you wrap us up on this. Do you think he's got the political power behind Thune to get Thune to cave and let's get this thing done and get this voter ID settled, that we've got to show an ID and citizenship before we vote in the midterms?
You know, it is so common sense a measure that you wonder why there's even any conversation about it. And our country has gotten to the point where things that just make good common sense, are just thrown out the window these days. And so I hope he has the backing and can apply the political leverage necessary to get it passed, because I think the country needs it. We have to be able to trust the integrity of the electoral process.
Well, you cannot have a country without three things. You cannot have a country without closed borders. You cannot have a country without a clear judicial system, one justice system for all, not just for a few. And the third thing is what you just said. We've got to have a clean and unbiased election system free of fraud. And if those three things are not operating, you have no country. I don't care what you say. And you know what's so sickening to me? That I didn't even realize this. I heard this today I was traveling a little bit in town here, and they had a news guy on, and he was talking about that we're the only country, one of the very few countries, maybe the only country, James, that allows mail-in ballots to come into our election process. And I'm thinking of these third world nut countries don't even allow this stuff. But we do. And what does that say about us? Have we lost all sense of sanity? I mean, it's like the old meme I saw that the surest way that we know that there is intelligent life out there in the universe, you know why we know that? It's not contacted us. It has stayed away from us. And you'll get that joke in a minute.
Well, did you read my last missive? It was about that very issue. It was about Fermi's paradox. Fermi, the nuclear physicist in the 1950s working at the Los Alamos lab, said if evolution is correct, and if mathematically there are an untold number of universes out there that are probably a correct distance from a star, why haven't we heard the first indication of extraterrestrial life? And that is called Fermi's paradox. And the question remains, if there is life out there, why haven't we heard from it? And I wrote a missive about that. People can go to jamesakers.com. It'll be the most recent missive, and I put several ideas in there that I think are entertaining and worth thinking about.
Yep.
I encourage people to read it.
I put it like this: if the Democrats felt like the aliens would go vote for them, they would probably find a way to make sure they came to America. They'd probably find a way to make sure they got here. But anyway,
I'm sure that they would win the alien vote just like they win the graveyard vote.
Mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots from Mars. We're going to check mail-in ballots from the planets or something. But it's been a pleasure tonight. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for being with me on Monday. See you soon. Thank you, man.
Okay,
Have
Chris,
a good night.
Always a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
You too, buddy. Have a good night. James Akers, everybody. Put some fun house. And grateful for James Akers tonight. We're not going to keep you long. We're right at 10 till 11. And, man, I tell you, he's good, isn't he? Always a pleasure with James, and we're grateful for him. And we're grateful for you all being with us tonight. And good stuff. Now, I'm going to take some of your questions and comments. I'm going to get to these right away. Bear says, Kristen Welkins looks like she's TDS possessed. I like that. That's about what she looked like. it looks like that Renee Nelson said that it needs to be the federal ID. Renee, I'm not sure what you're talking about unless you're talking about a federal ID card. I'm not a fan of that, and I'll tell you why. That federal ID card, and I understand your point, but our driver's license is state issued. We don't want a federal thing because we don't want the government ID in us, because I'm going to tell you where that's leading. That's ultimately going to lead to something very prophetic in the Bible called the mark of the beast. I'm not saying it is the mark of the beast, but that kind of system is going to be implemented worldwide, evidently, at some point during the Great Tribulation period. And not to get off into the spiritual realm tonight, but that is inevitable. You have to, because that federal ID could be used if the wrong people got in power. And that federal ID was in place, they could do a lot of nasty things to people they didn't like. And I know that the left would argue that about the right, that we would do something to, them. And I understand the desire for that. I get your point. I'm just saying I'm not a big fan of that federal ID. There's a way to do it. I think the system we've got would work if we would just enforce it. And that's, the driver's license. And, if you think about it, folks, I don't know how long this fraud and this election chicanery has gone back to. There's people that believe that this goes all the way back to the first Obama election. That, not that McCain was a grand candidate, but, Obama Romney, Obama McCain, I don't know. But definitely 2020, I do not believe that Joe Biden got 81 million votes. I just don't. And they used the mail-in ballot system then. If you think about the parallels between that election and this California election, mail-in ballots is the key. And I think, Renee, to your point, see, having a federal ID, they don't check your ID on a mail-in ballot. And that's why it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered if you sent a ballot in. You don't have to prove anything. And so I'll just say it like this. I'm not a big fan of the federal thing. I think if they would enforce the system as it is and make people vote on election day, and whatever the result is at the end of election night at 11 o'clock or 8 o'clock when the polls close, and give them 4 hours to count max, you've got till 11:30, and whatever you've counted, it's in, they would get it done. If they thought their vote wasn't going to get counted and the Dems were going to lose, I guarantee you these Dems would count these votes so quick, American Idol would spin. If we can count the results of American Idol at 100 million people that vote in that crazy talent contest, I know we can do this for our elections. So anyway, and I'm not taking issue with you, Renee. I'm just saying I'm not a big fan of that. I'm just saying that. Okay. Carol Smith says your state IDs contain a symbol showing that they're a U.S. citizen. If passed, yeah, I believe it should, Carol. I do. I do believe there needs to be something along those lines. I really do. Cleo says, good to see Cleo tonight in the house from down under. She says, we not only have ID to get on voter rolls if we want a mail-in ballot, we further have to answer a security question to minimize chances of ID theft. And again, Australia down under does this. Why can't we do something like this? And folks, there ain't a country that I know of, and I'm going to look into this deeper, but this guy today, he was pretty adamant about it. He said there is no nation that he is aware of that allows mail-in ballots to influence their elections like we do. We're the only country that allows this nonsense. And I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. And again, Trump made it clear today. He said, look, if you're in the military or you're sick and you've got proof of this, but you still have to get the ballot into the headquarters by the date of election. In other words, if you wait till 6 a.m. election day and say, well, I've got to get my mail-in ballot in, that's not how this works. No, you know you're not going to be able to vote. You get that ballot into the election headquarters. And if it's, I don't care about this postmark stuff. That's another thing that's crazy, because that's what they're doing in California. And again, if you can't count these votes and you can't get your votes, and these lazy people, I think I heard Dana Lesh said this, and somebody else said it this week. Maybe Pavlich, Katie Pavlich is a great gal, Fox News contributor. But Dana Lesh, she said these lazy, and she used a few vernaculars I can't use on my show tonight, but let's just say that she was not too fond of the laziness of voters that can't get their carcasses up to the voting polls and vote. And you can't tell me that a majority of those sending those ballots in couldn't, unless they're just fraudulent ballots. And they're not even people that exist. Because I tell you what, I'm going to be a little rude tonight. It's going to sound a little harsh. If they were voting for their welfare benefits and their vote made a difference whether they got a welfare check or not, I can guarantee you this, they'll get up there and vote. You'd have to have a line 16 miles outside the voting booth to keep them from voting for that, if it had something to do with them getting money and benefits. Some miracle, Ethel, as Fred Sanford used to say. Woo! Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'll amen myself on that. Let's see what we got over here. Jenny says, I think Trump should avoid these media outlets. They go nowhere good. Jenny, I tend to agree, and I think that after this event with NBC, I think that he may take you up on that. I think that he got a little burned. This is the Babylon Bee, and the LA Memorial Election Decision Desk 2026 after mail-in ballots has been tallied. Joe Biden has won the LA mayor race with 81 million votes, and that is, of course, the Babylon Bee. This is a sitting senator, if you can believe this. I think this is Senator Tammy Duckworth. I'm not making this up. I had to show you this because if I'd have told you this, you would have thought I was making it up. But she went with her Happy Pride post this weekend. You can pee next to me. And I'll just leave that one alone. That's a sitting senator. That's a sitting senator of this country. So, anyway, I'll leave that one alone. I got a lot more to say about that, but I'll keep my mouth shut. This is the TDS possessed look. When you see somebody in the media looking like that, they've got TDS, Trump Derangement Syndrome. By the way, Rosie, did you hear about this tonight? Rosie's back in the country. She fled America for Ireland. And she's back in the country for the summer, she says. And all she's doing is trashing Trump, trashing the country. And when I hear her, people like her and Sonny Holston on The View claim they hate America, they hate Trump. Why do you come back? Just stay, just leave. We're not going to miss you. But that's the face of TDS possessed. I like that, Bear. I like that, Bear. That is exactly right. TDS possessed. TDS possessed. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. All righty, let's see here. I got a few other things I want to show you here tonight. This is Maya Joy. She's a ex-account out in California. She's got a sister, she said, that lives in L.A. She's a Democrat, but she voted for Pratt. I was with her when she dropped her ballot in the mail weeks ago. We checked today, and it hasn't been received back. She's asking the question tonight, are they just tossing ballots for Spencer Pratt? And folks, that is a possibility. That is not just that they're overcounting the ballots for Noodle. They may be throwing ballots out, legitimate ballots for Spencer. Folks, there is no way. It's 1 in a billion, and we're almost done. We're after 11 tonight. We're almost done. There is no way, statistically, 25,000 mail-in ballots all went to the third-place candidate. If you look at what happened on Saturday night and into Sunday, Karen Bass's numbers didn't move. She didn't even move, not one vote. Spencer Pratt didn't move one vote. Every single ballot that came in over the weekend went to that third place candidate. For the very fact they did not want Spencer Pratt in a runoff with Karen Bass. That's fraud. And I think that Molly Joy has got a point. And I wouldn't doubt that she's correct. This is, Cleo sent this to me tonight. This is from Turkey. This is why we are not going to see peace in the Middle East, folks. This is the Turkish government, a spokesman for him. The story is in the Times of Israel, and we're going to read that tomorrow night. But this is Mustafa Sifsi, the Turkish Interior Minister. He said, I have long prayed to Allah to grant me the governorship of Jerusalem. I firmly believe that those lands will be ours again. Allah the Almighty will show us those days. He will certainly do so. By the way, that was just today or yesterday. Israel has no friends in the Middle East. They have no friends in the Middle East over this situation with Iran. That's why that beautiful red, white, and blue country called America, we need to start acting like a friend and stop acting like an enemy. And we need to realize this. We need to realize this quickly, because Turkey's our enemy too, whether we realize it or not. This is the interview. This is Trump and Miss Welker. Popcorn worthy.
Agents ushering them into the building. They had FBI go into the building. Those people walking around, they're looking always in this night. They weren't in. They were being ushered into the building.
There's no evidence.
You had a bunch of dirty cops, and frankly, what they did was weaponization of our government.
But sir, there's no evidence of that. More than 1,000 people.
No, there's none. You know what you do? Try looking at the tapes one time.
Try looking at the tapes. He called her stupid. He said, "You're either crooked or you're stupid." And probably both. But he told her that the January 6th protesters, this is really what started all this brouhaha, were ushered into the Capitol. And Welker said, well, there's no evidence of that. You heard her. And the video down there shows police escorting and waving them in at multiple entrances. The media insurrection is collapsing. And there was other things that Trump let her have it about, as the fraud in California. She said there was no evidence of that. And it finally just got the point. Trump said, I'm done. I am done. This is President Trump tonight about the parliamentarian. I'll read it to you. This is off Truth Social tonight. Senate Majority John Thune should immediately fire the parliamentarian who treats Republicans and everything they stand for horribly. She was put there by then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and Barack Hussein Obama. Need I say more? She's a nasty holdover from Mitch McConnell, a man who has proven to be very disloyal to John Thune, who decided to keep her because he loved giving trillions of dollars to the Democrats. But for the Republicans, including the wall, where I ended up having to go around him to build over 1,000 miles and close up our open border, he gave nothing. She is known as the radical left lunatic that caters to Democrats and has no respect for Republicans or Republican ideology. Just the other night, as an example, she ruled against us on a proposal that would have easily been approved and should have been by anyone else. We have every right to change her and should do so immediately. President Donald John Trump. Now, whether Thune will listen to him or not, that's one ugly TDS possessed, isn't it? Good Lord. Woo! Wouldn't you like to... I bet her husband loves to go home to her every night and see that face. Not. But anyway, Trump is not mincing any words. Here is a Los Angeles sheriff. By the way, before I show you that, this is Trump tonight. We got another 15 minutes. We'll be done. This is President Trump tonight in Madison Square Garden. Look at that. That's his granddaughter. That was at Madison Square Garden tonight. That's what a leader looks like. That's what a leader looks like. That is what a leader looks like. This is a, if you don't believe that this country is in trouble. I know most of you have heard about the reflection pool. I've been there through the years. It's such a beautiful view. If you sit at the Lincoln Memorial and you look out toward the Capitol and you look out over the Washington Monument, this big steeple that stands so high, you can go up in that and see Washington. These are leftists that say they would prefer the algae color instead of the crystal blue color that Trump has made to get Washington, D.C. looking good for our American 250. This is the left for you. Roll the tape.
I think it's horrible. The color I've seen on the news is disgusting to me, as opposed to how beautiful it was in the past.
The color it was in the past is that green algae color. The Biden years, they did nothing to clean D.C. up. It was a trash bin. When I went there in January of 25, right after Trump got elected for the Right to Life March, I was embarrassed for our Capitol. There was trash all over the city. It looked like a dumpster. Trump has done everything he can in the last year and a half to get it clean. Look at the difference in the color on the right compared to the color on the left. But these loons, I would have left it like it is. That's what liberalism, as Jason Miller tells me all the time, is a mental disorder. And it is. Here's a sheriff in L.A. telling you how they're stealing these elections.
The way the voting system is structured, we see quite a few flaws. You're able to register even and cast a vote if you don't live in the country, as evident of his brother in Pakistan. And I think we have some evidence of 2 or 3 other people out of the country that voted. Is that correct?
Yeah, approximately 2 or 3 other people out of the country, as well as people residing outside of the district.
Okay. The online voter registration system, it seems to be an honor system. Anybody can put in.
There's no honor system. That's part of the problem. You can't trust fraudsters and cheaters and liars and people that don't even belong in the country. Did you hear him say that they think that there's people that were voting in California that don't even live here in the country? They were voting in the election outside the country? Actually, you actually heard that, just like I actually heard
information in there to register to vote. All you have to do is click a box and say that you're not lying, and then you'll get an email from the Secretary of State or something in the mail saying thank you for registering to vote, and there you are. Once you're on the voter rolls, anytime an election comes around, guess what? You get mailed a ballot, right? You get mailed something to vote. So we found that a little bit problematic.
This is a New York Post reporter that's telling us that the Dems in all 49 states are recruiting illegals to vote in these elections. It's got to stop. Roll the tape.
Susan Rice, former President Obama's key advisor, is heading up the operation of tasking our federal agencies to actually get votes from illegal immigrants.
Are you saying you have proof that the Democrats are
trying a little low on the volume there, folks. Sorry about that.
To vote in our presidential election? Is that what you just said?
There is a memo from Susan Rice that says we've got to figure out how we're going to get these illegal immigrants. It's going to be challenging to teach them how to make sure we get their votes in the ballot. They don't say whether they're going to make them citizens first or not.
And that was Maria last week about that, and Susan Rice, the former official of Obama. This is one other thing, and then we're going to wrap it up. This is the bombing video tonight in Iraq. This is our air base. That is an actual video. That's happened within the last few hours tonight. And that was a Iranian missile attack that was over one of the air bases. We've not heard any word of injuries or anything, but that adds another dynamic to this. I've been telling our morning crew and our faith show that Iraq is not dead. They're going to be a player in this, and do not doubt that Iraq's going to rear its head again very soon in the Middle East. It is what it is. And I think that's all we got tonight. This is our D-Day poster from the weekend. I want to just say again, we are grateful for the honor and the courage and the faith and the heroes of Normandy. 6/6/1944, there's Eisenhower with the troops. We remember, we honor. We're forever grateful, and we'll never forget their service. That was the greatest generation. Many of those boys that you see in that picture died. Most of them did, to be frank with you. Our dear friend Glennie Sims McDonald, she goes there every year. She couldn't go this year. I'm hoping that next year, Lord willing, that when they have the Normandy celebration, she's been on our show. She's going to come back on soon and talk to us about this. But I hope we can go and be part of that celebration one of these years before McDonald gets too old. I can't even say my name. But that would be such an honor to be over there and honor these veterans. There's not many of them left, to be frank with you. Most of them are approaching 100 years old. But there are still some that they honor every year. We salute you and your memory on this D-Day weekend, this D-Day Monday, and we thank you for that. Listen, we're grateful for you. Yes, Bob, it is the dishonor system. It really is. Do I have any Californians in the house tonight? If I do, want your take before I say goodnight. Before we say goodnight tonight, we're grateful for you. We didn't get on Rumble like I thought we had been on, but anyway, we want to thank James Akers for being with us tonight. We want to thank you for being with us tonight, and we just are very appreciative. This is the Noodle Woman. This is, again, they're predicting that Nathia Raymond, we call her Noodle Woman. I'm not sure who called her that, but that's what they did. By the way, this story here we're going to talk about tomorrow night. Do you realize that with the 250-year anniversary of America coming up, that 55% of all Democrats would rather live outside the United States? Adios. 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 Do us a favor. Do us a favor. Do us a favor. I don't think anybody in this audience will mind that you leave. If you don't like our country, leave. Adios. I happen to love our country. I happen to be very grateful I'm an American, and I know you are too. I know you are too. Anyway, all righty. It's been good to be with you tonight. Did you enjoy the show? Did you enjoy James Akers? Put some fire in that house. And Jeannie, I'm with you. I wouldn't hold my breath for Thune to listen to Trump. I think Amy Miller would agree with that. She's from South Dakota, and she's pretty aware of what John Thune's about too. And I'm with you on that. I wouldn't hold my breath. I wouldn't hold my breath. Listen, we hope you've had a good night with us tonight. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless this great nation of America. We'll do it again tomorrow. We've got our Bible study in the morning at 10, and then we'll be back with you tomorrow night about the same time. We've got Jacob Ingalls with us tomorrow night. He was a young man that was with us about a month ago. Magdalene brought him, and we're going to have him on. There's a move afoot. And we're going to let him explain why he's coming on to talk about a candidate for president in 28. But we'll talk with him about some other things too. And then we've got some other guests this week. Judge Sherilyn Allen will be with us a week from tomorrow night. I talked to her today. She's been busy. We've been busy. But we've got her scheduled for next Tuesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern. And I cannot wait to have the one and only Judge Sherilyn Allen back with us. We may get old Brad Johnson on the phone with us this week or next week, but we got a lot of great guests coming, and some of them are new, some of them are old, but whatever we do will always be interesting conversation. Leslie Mill will be with us again this week, I'm sure, with the week being like it is, and we're just grateful for all of you being with us tonight. If you enjoyed the show, put some fire in that house. We love what we do because of you. And we thank you for being with us tonight on a Mac Files Monday night. And until tomorrow, McDonald out. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed. Be safe. Pray for your nation. Pray for President Trump. Pray for each other. Pray for me and my beautiful family and my wife. We love you guys. Love you guys. Have a good night. Take care now.